Hello, my name is Ray Pritchard with the Warehouse Theater Company. So far from me, you've heard about what it's like to possibly be a director at Warehouse, what auditions are like, as well as the rehearsal process. Today in my final video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what it's like once the show finally opens, and then what happens afterward. So, I hope you enjoy. You've got the courage to audition, you got the part, you've rehearsed it for several weeks, and now it's finally opening night. So, this is a time to celebrate. This is wonderful. All of your hard work is about to pay off. But it can also be very nerve-wracking at the same time. One thing that you can never prepare for is how the audience is going to react. You can think that you know where they're going to laugh. You can do your best to plan for it, but you just never know. And to top it off, every single night is going to be completely different. So the best thing to do is to just go out there and give it your best shot each and every night. One of the theater superstitions is if you have a bad last dress rehearsal, you're going to have a good opening night. And at the same time, the other way is true. If you have a good final dress, then your opening night might not be as great as you want it to be. Now, there's a lot of theater superstitions out there, but this is one that for some reason seems to come true more often than not. And part of the reason is it's definitely a subconscious thing. So if you're thinking that, oh my gosh, last night's dress rehearsal went fantastic, what's going to happen tonight, then you could possibly cause things to happen. And also, if a final dress rehearsal is bad, then you've already kind of worked out some of the kinks. Some of the things that possibly went wrong in the dress rehearsal may not go wrong in the opening night, and since if they do, you've already practiced with it being wrong, so you have a better idea of what to do. That's just one of the many theater superstitions out there, is last dress rehearsal, if it's bad, opening will be good, and vice versa. But no matter what, like I said, go out there and give it your best shot. You know this play. You do. You know it like the back of your hand. So you're able to respond to situations as they come up. Sometimes those can't be helped. For example, many years ago, I was in a production of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And there's this part where all of the inmates, if you will, are playing a game of basketball. And one of the characters has an imaginary friend who he thinks is completely real. Well, as part of the blocking, it was staged that that actor would throw the basketball off stage to his imaginary friend. So we were all playing, and we did that, and the actor threw the ball off stage, to which an audience member thought they were helping and got up out of their seat, grabbed the basketball, and threw it back to us on stage. Did throw us slightly for just a second. However, we just played it off like, oh my gosh, your imaginary friend is real. And we just kept going. So you never know what's going to happen. Another thing that often happens is at opening night, simply because it is opening night, everybody's energy is much higher. And so that can create a very exciting show. Because you're finally going to have an audience out there, you're finally going to hear them laugh or feel them cry or hopefully not see them fall asleep, but you're going to have the energy from them. Then when you come back in the second night, you always, in your mind, are comparing it to the first night. So often in the theater world, the second night is called the second night slump, because it's usually not as exciting for the actor the second night because they're expecting the same reactions as the night before. And the biggest pieces of advice is just don't do your best not to do that. Don't hype up the second night as much as the first night. Your energy itself is going to be different. Opening night, you have a very, very high energy because you've been working and you're so excited to finally get there. Then second night, honestly, some of that energy has gone away because you're like, oh, I've done this before. And so your energy itself has dropped off a little bit. So you need to do whatever you can to pick your energy back up in order to go out. And if they don't laugh at the same spots, oh well. Just keep going and, again, do your best. At Warehouse, we typically run for 3 weekends, which is a lot of fun, and some people think that that's a lot of theater. And honestly, it is in some ways, but compared to professional theaters that run for years, it really is not that many performances. And trust me, it will go by much faster than you think it will. By the time you get to the last night, you're going to be going, oh my gosh, how did this happen? We're closing the show already? And that's just the life of theater. It's one of the wonderful things and one of the terrible things about theater is you put your heart and your soul and your blood, sweat, and tears into these productions, and when it comes down to it, there's only a handful. And once it's over, it's over. Closing nights are always bittersweet. By that time, you have made many wonderful friends. I usually call my casts my new family, so each show is a new family, and we love working together. And so after that closing night, you won't be working with them in the same capacity ever again. There's been times where I've done the same show more than once, but it's a completely different cast, completely different theater, completely different feel. Not to say that one version is better than the other or anything like that, but it will always be different. And again, that's one of the wonderful things about theater and one of the tragic things about theater. One of my college theater professors always used to say on closing night that not to be sad because one show is closing. Be happy because that means there's going to be another opening night. So hopefully you've had a great experience from start to finish in the show. From the auditions, to the rehearsal process, to being yelled at by the director because you don't know your lines, to finally being able to put the costume on, finally being able to work on the completed set, hearing the sound effects, seeing the light design, and performing to an audience. Hopefully you've had a wonderful time, and you will come back and keep auditioning for many, many shows to come. So, once the final person has left the theater on closing night, your job as an actor isn't quite over. I say this very sternly because some actors think it is, but it's not. The very last thing that everyone must participate in is something called strike. And what strike is where you spend however many hours it takes to completely take down the set and put everything back in the theater the way it was before your show ever existed. It takes 6 to 8 weeks to build the show, to paint the set, to paint the floor, to adjust the lights, to get your lines right, to build the costumes, to move the props in, to do this, to do that. It takes a long time to put all that together, and it all goes away within one night, which honestly is quite spectacular if you think about it. Strike is a final time to say goodbye to everybody and goodbye to the show that you've just produced. And then once strike is over, then and only then is your job done, and you're free to go on your way until the next audition. So, I hope you've enjoyed these videos, and I hope that it gives you a little insight into what it's like to be working for a company like the Warehouse Theater Company. We know that this is a very strange time right now, and we promise you, we will get you back into our theater just as soon as we possibly can. Take care.